everyone, welcome to the tiered tray workshop. So the very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find a place to do this that you're going to be able to leave your stuff and let it dry and come back to it. This is a couple stage project. It may even be something that is going to be an overnight project for you. So you'll want to find a space. If you have any sort of like paper or something to lay down, newspaper or something like that, go for it. Even like an old cardboard box might be good because then it's kind of sturdy enough that you can pick up your items and set them up higher if you've got kiddos in your house or you just don't have a specific space you can leave it, say if you're working at your kitchen table. So you want to kind of get your area prepped prior to starting this painting. So a couple different stages here I wanted to show you. So this is kind of like my finished product of what it's going to look like. This is the rose gold paint. So obviously yours is going to potentially look different if you picked a different paint color. If you chose the rose gold, this is what it's going to look like. So this is kind of like the done. This is about 4 different coats of the rose gold, which you'll have enough paint to do for each of yours to make sure that they turn out looking like this. And so then this is what it's going to look like, your first coat of that paint. After you put the white down. So it's going to look pretty scary for the first couple coats until you start getting those coats on and it starts covering. No fear, like I said, you have enough paint. It's just going to be a little bit of a process because you want to make sure that the coats are dry in between. The paint that's going to take the longest to dry is going to be your white paint. So you might want to plan on that. This craft paint dries pretty quickly. So you will do this to each of your pieces. They're all going to kind of look, come in the middle. This is what one coat's going to look like of that white. Basically what this white is doing is just helping it bind the craft paint to it. So the white is actually like a latex actual like house paint. So that's going to be a little thicker, a little heavier, a little bit messier if you get it on yourself. So just be careful with it. And then this is just going to be kind of like your typical craft paint. So like I said, this is what it looks like with the one coat of the white. When you go to do painting with your white, you're going to want to put it on kind of thick when you're painting it. And you're going to want to make sure everything gets covered because it's going to kind of act as a binding for that paint to the metal. Obviously, metal is a tricky surface to paint because of it being shiny and having that finish. So we just got to do a little bit of prep work. And that is why we paint all of this that color first. So how I did this is I obviously did this in pieces just because I did it to show you guys the different stages. When you guys go to do it, I would start with all of yours with the white color, get them all primed up and ready to go before you move on to painting with your final base color or your final outside color. Like I said, you're going to want to make sure it all gets covered. Your hands are probably going to get a little bit of paint on them, which this stuff will wash off your hands. You might have to scrub it a little bit, but it's more your clothes I'm worried about. Just watch out with that. And all right. So once you get that completed, you see any spots you feel like need a little more, go throw some more on it. And then you want to make sure that you do it on both sides because with your tray, you're obviously going to see the bottom portions of the tray. All right, there we go. So like I said, this is going to be the longest to dry. If you've got a warm area, you can set it in. I have like a little space heater in my office, so I actually just set everything in front of it. Obviously, make sure if you're taking that route, you're in the room with a space heater. Please don't burn your house down. But that always helps it to dry. If you've got a really warm room in your house, go stick them in there. So once this is completely dry, and I mean like you touch it, it's not sticky, there's not wet spots that are like sticking to your hand or anything like that, then you can go on and start the process of painting this. So like I said, this one's going to take some coats. Pretty basic, just paint a coat, let it dry, paint a coat, and then just go until you feel pretty content with the coverage. If you don't want it if you don't want it the true like full color, kind of like by the third coat, it's kind of speckly, it's kind of cool. So feel free, whatever style you want to do. If you like something better, you don't want it fully coated, you like seeing the white, whatever you want to do, this is your project, so go for it. Okay, so now that you've got everything painted and everything is good to go, that includes you want to make sure that you paint your little risers. These are going to go in the middle to make your tiered tray. And this is honestly a step you can do right now, or you can do it once you put your tray together. I chose to do it right now just because it's easier to, you know, maneuver and get into the little tight spaces before I put my tray together. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab the little container that says sealer. And this is a polyurethane that you're going to be using. This is a sealer. It's just going to help keep in your paint. It's going to help protect the surface a little bit. It goes on a little cloudy, but it actually will dry clear. As you can see, these ones are already done. You can't really see it. But one thing you want to make sure of is you want to make sure that your surface is absolutely 100% dry before you go on and put this coat of poly on there. So when you do the poly, it's super simple, guys. Like I said, it's a clear coat. One thing you'll probably want to do is if you are inside your house, you're going to want to make sure you open a window because it does have a smell. If you have your ability to go outside, if you've got a heated garage, which I do not, go outside into your garage, somewhere just where it's ventilated, because it definitely does have a chemically smell to it. I want to say at this point I'm pretty used to it because I use it pretty constantly, but there is definitely a smell. So when you go to do it, like I said, just brush it on there. You know, try to get it pretty thin layer. You don't want it gooped up in any areas, but like I said, it is gonna dry pretty clear. So you'll want to do this in 2-stage parts. The stuff is it dries to the touch pretty quickly. It's going to be tacky for a little while, so you're probably going to want to let this dry for a little bit before you handle it. It will be able to be handled pretty quickly. So if you wanted to go on and do the rest of your steps with this, so if you want to actually put your tray together, and then before you actually like put stuff on it, let it just sit overnight and let this protective coat really get a good hard dry before you start setting stuff on the shelves and things like that. So like I said, do each of those front and back. It just protects the surface. Obviously the paint has some form of sealant and protectant, but just because we painted metal and because we plan to be putting things on these little tiers and all of that just to prevent it from scratching or anything happening to our hard work here. And then like I said, you can do this now or you can do it when you put it together. I suggest now just because then you're not trying to do this while it's in one big piece, which is always going to be harder in the long run than just doing it when it's in pieces. So like I said, once this gets done, you've done both sides. Let it dry for like 10-15 minutes till it's dry to the touch, and then we can move on to the that would be the third step of putting this together. All right, so once everything is dry, your paint, your if you did your poly first, which once again I highly suggest doing, this is where it gets a little interesting. You've got to put everything together. So you do need to find some glue to use, and I do have some pointers on that. I would suggest this stuff, this E6000 stuff. You can find this at Walmart. It's pretty inexpensive. It's good to have around the house. It's pretty much like gonna hold the world together if you need to do that. It's also like a gel. So once you put it on, you have a little bit of time before it adheres to kind of like move things around. And that's going to be highly needed for this, I promise. I did use super glue yesterday morning, just like normal super glue. Two things I didn't love about it. One, the moment it touches the surface, you're done for. So like if it's not where it needs to be, it's going to be no bueno. You can't move it. And secondly, this morning I went to pick up my tray because I used super glue on the bottom and this on the top. Yeah, it came off. So I would not suggest super glue, guys. So find this stuff. Like I said, you can find this at Walmart. It's like $5 or $6 for the tube. It's pretty inexpensive and it's going to come in handy for other things as well, I promise. So get that. So putting your pieces together, I actually flipped the little doodabbies upside down. I don't know what they were official name. These are actually candlestick holders. So I actually flipped them upside down when I put my tray together. You can put them whatever way you want. So if you want like the wider base on the bottom, then obviously you flip it the other way. But completely up to you how you want to attach these. Like I said, I had this attached, and then that super glue experiment proved to me this morning that that is no bueno. So, which is actually okay, because when I put this together yesterday, it wasn't the most even in the middle. So now I'm going to get another chance to do that. So when you're doing this, it's going to be really hard to see on this up camera here. I don't know if I can adjust this so you get to see my feet, guys. Okay, you kind of see the sides now. Guys are going on a little ride here. When you're doing this, you're going to want to make sure you can measure it out. If you're one of those like people that love to make sure everything is perfectly measured and everything is good to go. I'm not that person, simply because even when I do measure, I feel like it still gets messed up. So I kind of did mine by a visual. So I would set it down and then I would kind of look from above. But another thing you're going to want to do when I'm trying to show you guys here, which is going to be a little harder with this. There we go. Whoop. See there? You're going to want to get down on this level and just look at it that way. So making sure everything looks lined up, because honestly, are you going to be looking at it from above very often? Probably not, but you're going to be looking at it from across the room, like this ways. So you're going to want to make sure that these two posts in here are lined up above each other, because you're going to notice that visually, right? So when you are getting ready to line it up, I would suggest that you do take a look at it from the side versus from the top. I'm having all sorts of problems here. Here we go. We good? We good? Okay. So, that would be my one big suggestion. Make sure it all lines up and it looks good from the side and not just the top. Even if you measure it out and it says like, hey, this is the center, make sure that you are content with that. All right, so then once you've kind of got an idea where you want it, like I said, this stuff is really awesome because it is a gel. So if you put it down like in the wrong spot for the first second, it's going to give you the opportunity to move it. Which, like I said, that super glue I used yesterday, ladies, did not give me that. It was, I touched it and we were like, oh, and we're done. So like I said, put it down, walk away from it. Look from the other side of the room if you're still loving it. Which that looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna take you guys right on out of here. All right, see how those two are lined up? That's what you're gonna wanna kind of be looking for. You know, does it look okay? Does it look visually okay? Because like I said, you're not going to really ever be looking at it from up there. You're going to be looking at it from over here. So then once you've got those tiers done, you can do it one at a time. That might, if you can leave it where it's at, like right now I can leave this here, and do 2 tiers. It can dry. If you've got to move it around, I would probably do these 2 tiers, let it dry, and then do the top tier. But that's totally up to you. And then you'll just want to let it dry. Just read whatever your glue instructions are. And then once you are ready to go, you are all done. Congratulations.